Have you ever really thought about what goes into a truly perfect cup of tea? For ages, that secret was known only to human experts. But what if I told you that today, the best, most sophisticated tea taster in the world isn't even human? Let's dive into how artificial intelligence is completely shaking up one of the world's oldest beverages.
For centuries, the quality of tea was decided by professional tasters. And we're talking about true masters of their craft, right? They use all of their senses, color, aroma, taste, to evaluate the tea and figure out exactly what it's worth. It's a deeply respected tradition, but it's also starting to face some very modern-day problems. So, what exactly are these experts looking for? Well, it's way more complex than just, does this taste good? The perfect cup is all about a super delicate balance. Of course, there's the flavor and the aroma, but it's also about the hidden chemical components. Things like polyphenols and theaflavins, the stuff that gives tea its health benefits and that unique taste.
And that brings us to the core challenge. Human tasting, for all its artistry, is always going to be subjective. What one expert calls excellent, another might just call good. Now, on the flip side, you've got scientific analysis in a lab. Sure, it's precise, but it's also incredibly slow and way too complicated for a factory floor. So you can see why there's this growing need for something better, something fast, objective, and scalable.
And this is where the high-tech solution comes marching in. Imagine a system with, let's call them super senses, like an electronic nose and an electronic tongue that can capture data far beyond what any human can perceive. Now you pair those senses with a super brain in the form of deep learning, a really advanced type of AI. This is where the magic happens.
So what in the world is deep learning? Okay, think of it like this. Just as our brains learn to recognize a face by processing millions of little details, the shape of the eyes, the curve of a smile, deep learning models process massive amounts of data through layers of artificial neurons to find hidden patterns. The most important part is it learns automatically. You don't have to sit there and explicitly program it for every single tiny variation.
In practice, the whole process is actually beautifully simple. First, the sensors sense the tea, collecting all kinds of data, images, aroma profiles, taste fingerprints. Second, the deep learning model analyzes all this complex info, connecting subtle data points to quality. And finally, it makes a prediction, a precise, objective score on the tea's quality. Sense, analyze, predict.
And this technology isn't just for a final quality check at the end. AI is being applied at every single stage of the tea's life, making sure the quality is there from the field all the way to your cup.
And this isn't just some niche idea. If you look at the research, it has absolutely exploded in just the last few years. This really shows how quickly this technology is moving from just a theory to a real-world application.
So let's start at the very beginning, the tea field. The final quality of the tea is pretty much determined long before it's ever processed. It all starts with a healthy, perfectly grown leaf, and AI is helping farmers and producers get this first step exactly right.
By analyzing data from specialized cameras, AI models can actually predict nutrient content in the leaves, which helps optimize fertilizer use to get the best quality buds. Even more impressive, some systems use a technique called spectroscopy, which is a fancy way of saying it analyzes how light interacts with the leaves to detect tiny pesticide residues with up to 100% accuracy. This ensures the leaves are safe before they're even picked.
Okay, once the leaves are harvested, they go through processing. Withering, rolling, fermentation, and drying. This is where the unique flavors and aromas of different teas are developed, and let me tell you, precision is absolutely key.
During processing, AI acts like this super vigilant supervisor. For the withering process, it can predict moisture content with incredible precision. That RP value you see is basically a statistical way of saying it's an almost perfect match. But its real standout role is in fermentation. Using something called hyperspectral imaging, which is like a camera that sees light invisible to the human eye, one model could classify the exact stage of black tea fermentation with up to 98.13% accuracy. This ensures every single batch achieves its perfect flavor profile.
Finally, we get to the finished product. This is the ultimate test, grading the tea, verifying its origin, and ensuring its authenticity. For both the producers and for us, the consumers, this stage is where quality and value are officially defined.
And this is where it gets truly incredible. One system that combined an electronic tongue with a deep learning model was able to classify 5 different varieties of tea with, get this, 99.9% accuracy. That is a level of precision and consistency that is virtually impossible for human tasters to match.
This technology goes way beyond just identifying the type of tea. It can classify its grade, confirm its geographical origin to prevent fraud, and even determine the storage time of valuable aged teas like pu'er. It's all about guaranteeing authenticity and quality for you, the consumer.
Now, as exciting as all of this is, the path to a fully AI-powered tea industry isn't without its challenges. It's really important to have a balanced view and understand the obstacles that still need to be overcome before this becomes widespread.
These models need enormous amounts of high-quality data to train, which can be hard to get. The models themselves are so complex they can be a black box, making it hard to understand their decisions. They also demand a lot of computing power, and there's a shortage of people in the tea industry with the skills to develop and maintain them.
But despite these hurdles, the future looks incredibly promising. Researchers are already developing some very clever solutions to make this technology more efficient, more accessible, and a whole lot more trustworthy.
For instance, they're using a technique called knowledge distillation to train smaller, more efficient models that can run on less powerful hardware. And they're building in explainability so we can understand why the AI made a certain decision. This is huge for building trust and makes the technology far more practical.
And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating thought. For centuries, tea tasting was considered a uniquely human art form, a blend of sense, experience, and intuition. If AI can now master that, it really makes you wonder, what other complex, subjective human experiences, from crafting the perfect coffee to composing music, will it learn to perfect next?